Hello, wonderful listeners. Remember, we were in the office of John's doctor, and he was thinking that TH had been a good influence for John all these years. So let's see what's happening. John went on and on about how TH had not shared with him the fact that he had bought a home in Chicago. They had shared everything with each other since they were kids. Why now was he keeping things from him? He suspected that it was all because of Elin. He still couldn't understand it. Didn't he realize that brothers should not keep anything from each other? Dr. Lance knew that when John referred to TH as brother, he was pushing for the closeness that he felt was being threatened. With this in mind, he reminded John of the kinship TH had always demonstrated toward him. It didn't help that this very own doctor would constantly point out what a fine friend TH has been all these years. Well, just as I have always done, I will take matters into my own hands. I will find out from her friend, Rena. Yes, he had his connections and his charm. Just one of the other incidentals that TH had taught him. After he had tried for days to reach Elin from that bogus number she had given him, he began to make some other phone calls. After several phone calls, he found what he needed to know about Rena. He must say that indeed he was very impressed. She had graduated from Northwestern University, one of the top schools. Her degree was in computer engineering and business consulting. Now, even with her own company, Rena was sought out by the top Fortune 500 companies. It certainly helped that one of his acquaintances had been a client of Rena's company. His name was David, and he knew that he had scheduled a meeting with Rena about whether or not her company could take on more work, under pretense of possibly needing the services of Rena himself. John invited himself along on the luncheon meeting. David had no objections because John was his personal physician who had taken really good care of him. By the time John had awakened from another relaxation technique given by Dr. Lance, he was his charming self again. Okay, Doc, shall we say same time next week? Yes, John. You know that I'm always here for you. Upon leaving his doctor's office, John sped out for the airport to catch his flight to Chicago. He could not miss this meeting with Miss Rena. He thought this would be the perfect time to open another nutrition store. With his stores in California, this would make the third one. All during the plane ride, John could only think about her. Won't she be surprised to see that he is not one to play games with? He'd show her what it feels like to hurt. With Rena being her closest friend, Elin would certainly feel the impact of what he'd do to her precious friend. As the plane proceeded to land, John grew desperate because his whole heart was set on this meeting. He rushed from the plane and quickly ran for the taxi, almost bumping other passengers in the process. He blurted the destination to the driver with an admonition to hurry. The driver knew of the address immediately and was glad to have a fare for that area. He enjoyed taking passengers to the famous Hyde Park community. "Hey, John, good to see you, buddy." As John exited the cab, he looked behind to see that it was David. "David, man, it is great to see you. I see that we are both still running neck and neck with Tommy," John teased. "Yeah, I just hope that we both beat Rena here. She is a very busy young lady, and I don't like to keep her waiting. She is already doing me a favor by considering another contract." "Leave it to me," John said emphatically. "That's what you think," David replied. "Rena is not easily persuaded by manly charm. John, I'm just warning you. Remember, she is sought out for her expertise from companies all over the world, and she has dealt with men tougher than the both of us together." With that, John had no rebuttal. He said to himself that David never did know how to handle strong, career-minded women. Upon walking into the classy restaurant, all heads turned toward the two of them. John gloated that he could still make a noticeable entrance into any establishment. He then heard a voice from behind them. "I almost beat you, David." As he and David turned, John only then saw who all the heads were really turned for. This woman was beyond beautiful. In addition to her physical exquisiteness, she carried a magnetic energy that seemed to attract any and everyone within her vicinity. "Hey, John, this is Rena." As David introduced them, John was mesmerized. John was caught in such a trance until he could hardly stutter out a decent greeting. As he shook Rena's hand, he was thinking, "What in the world is wrong with me? Pull it together, boy." Now, it's funny that he would call himself boy, because that is exactly what he felt like at this very moment. As they were shown to a table, John excused himself to the men's room. He was glad no one else was in there, because he quickly doused his face with cold water. It felt as if his entire face was on fire. He recalled one of the relaxation techniques given by his doctor and quickly used it. "Well, the prodigal son has returned," teased David. "Please forgive me. I had to make an urgent call." "Indeed you are forgiven," Rena responded. John thought the sound of her voice was truly angelic. My goodness, it's as if his whole personality had done a complete about-face. He could feel a change within himself. He didn't know if it were the Bible words that David used about the prodigal son, or the word that he himself used when referring to Rena as angelic. And what was with the "please forgive me" bit? He had never asked anyone to forgive him. Whatever was happening? He gathered that it was not just magic. This indescribable phenomenon was supernatural. It was as if some sort of healing had taken place within. When he looked at Rena, if you could even call it looking, all he wanted to do was protect her and make her happy. There would be no pretending he needed her for his new store. He didn't even want to think of her having to work for him, or anyone else for that matter. My God, I cannot shake this feeling that has come over me. John mumbled.